So, hello everyone. Welcome to this talk about improving the UX of our Xamarin Forms application. We are Charlin and Rendy, and we are super excited to be here today. How are you today, Rendy?
I'm feeling pretty good, pretty excited about the content we are going to share today, because it's something that you can actually apply to any application. It doesn't matter if it was developed necessarily in Xamarin Forms, are general mobile concepts that you can do in any mobile app. But our focus for this talk and our examples will be in Xamarin Forms. But this is something that is useful for any mobile application.
Yeah, so first of all, let's introduce ourselves. So, as I said, we are Charlin and Rendy. We are from the Dominican Republic.
Right.
We are Microsoft MVP. We are co-organizers of the community.net Dominicana. And we are also writers. We have we write articles in our blogs, Some Girl and Some Boy.
Right.
So first, what is user experience? So user experience is a process design teams use to create products that provide meaningful and relevant experience to users. So basically, when we talk about UI, we are talking about how a product looks, how an application looks. When we are talking about UX, we are talking about how we can use the app and what experience we can provide to the user. This is why we divided the presentation in different subtopics that we are going to cover. So we are going to give you some tips about how you can add and improve your Splash onboarding, login register forms, profile contact, loading, internet connection, and general. So let's start with the first one, Rendy.
Yeah, so as a first thing, I think this is kind of the first impression you get of any app. Having a splash screen is really important because it's kind of the first look of an app when you load it. So it's really important that we give our users the best impression possible. For example, if we see a blank screen, we might think, okay, this is maybe a sample app, this is a demo, something like that, but it's not something very professional. So we should always give the user a really nice splash screen so that the user have a great impression of our app when it gets loaded.
And the first impression is important.
Right, yeah. It is important for love at first sight, right? So
yeah.
Another thing that you should consider when doing splash screens is that you can actually load data and make it even animated. So that instead of having a loading indicator, when you load your app after the splash screen, you might actually do an animation while doing the splash screen and load data so that when the application is already entered, it has its data because it was loaded on the splash screen. So it will be more comfortable for the user and more friendly.
Yeah, so the user won't feel like you are really loading something. You are just like showing an animation.
Right, because the user will feel like, okay, I'm waiting 2 times because I look at the splash and then I had this loading indicator. Instead, why we don't do it just once?
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to do. In Xamarin Forms, you can just do a content page and animate that using the Animations API. There's an article by Mark Alibon about how to do this.
Yeah, also another important thing is to provide an onboarding screen. It doesn't apply to all the applications. I can say like simple application, it probably won't apply. But if you have an application that is important that you explain some things, the onboarding screen is important. And there are some ways that you can do it. So Patrick, I won't try to pronounce his last name, but I think it's Shivanda, wrote an article about it a time ago, and he's basically showing like a carousel view with images and text. But also, if you want to do something more professional, you can do it with an animation. Steven, I won't try to pronounce that last name. So Steven wrote an article too about it, and it's the same concept of the carousel, and also Felipe wrote another article using Skiashar. So you have different options there. They all are using the same concept, like they are using Xamarin Essentials to use first launch tracking. So it will detect if the app is, if it's the first time that the app is loading. and they are using a carousel to handle the emails.
Yeah, please excuse us if we didn't get the names right. We will try better next time.
Yeah, yeah.
So also another thing is login, register, and forms. How we can make the experience to the user better while developing this. The first thing is, why don't we use inline validations instead of showing an alert each time you get something wrong? Like, for example, let's say you make the user input all this information and then the user tap on confirm and it gets an alert or even several alerts. That experience might be horrible for the user. A better way might be just show him right away what's wrong, what is missing, and what is required from him. That will make him fill the form.
Ooh,
fill the form really quickly and in a very friendly way, and it will get the data right from the first time.
Wait, are we sharing? Are we sharing? Yeah, we are sharing. Okay, sorry. Oh, going back. Continue back.
Yeah. Okay. So it will get the data right from the first time if you do inline validations, and you won't have all those annoying alerts. So.
Yeah, and it's worth because sometimes I have seen like forms that they are, after you finish to fill all the form, they start showing alerts like one behind the others, like you need to complete the password, and when you press OK, it says like you need to complete the email, and it's really annoying.
Right, and you might even forget if you get all these alerts or all these messages like, what was the thing I got wrong? Because maybe it was 4 things, was not just one. So definitely always use inline validations to give the best user experience.
Yeah, and I wrote an article about it a time ago, so you just need to go there, copy the code, and paste it in your project. So it's that simple as it sounds. So the other tip is use when we are using a mobile application, visual constraints are important because it will give the user an idea of what kind of format you are expecting. So, for example, if you are expecting a mobile number, there are some ways that you can type a mobile number. It's like 8 digits. I think it's 16.
I think it's 10, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But in other countries,
right.
it's probably more digits. So if you provide like a mask that the user can know what kind of number you are expecting or what's the format of the data that you are expecting, then it's easier to the user. Like
you can separate the area code, and also in credit cards, it's really handy because you can put in several groups the numbers. So it's just a very nice visual feedback.
Yeah, and also the Xamarin Community Toolkit supports it already. So you just need to install the package. They have a lot of behaviors there that you can use. They have email validation behavior, mass behavior, max length behavior, like and other options that you can use there.
Also, always provide context to the fields. We generally rely on, many apps rely on the placeholder, but that might not be enough because while you are typing, you might lose that insight of what field I'm exactly feeling at the moment. So definitely go into another approach of giving always the user visible what he's feeling, because you might forget, okay, what I'm actually inputting. I'm inputting a phone, I'm doing a credit card. He might forget. So it's really easy just to make it always visible. Okay, this is the name of the card, this is the card number, and in Xamarin Forms
that field, if it's like at the bottom of is something that is not up. So a way to improve that is to don't hide the fields. So to do that, you just need to add a scroll view to your into your
forms.
So it's pretty simple.
Another thing that might not be always considered in apps is to use the right keyword. If you, for example, have a field that should only accept numbers, while should you even show letters? You are just basically opening the door to errors in data. So definitely just request the information that you need. If it's inputting numbers, then just a numeric keyword. If it's inputting an email, then keyword for email. Always use the relevant keyword to get the best experience for the user, and the user will input the data gratefully.
Yeah. And also you can go beyond and use and provide the right numeric keyword. There are different options of numeric keywords, but Xamarin Forms by default, I think, support the first one. So, for example, if you are expecting a different type of number,
decimal.
Yeah, decimal or just integers. It's better if you provide like the specific keyword that you are expecting. And to achieve that it's really easy. You just need to use a render or use an effect and just specify the keyword type. And Steven has an article about it, so you just need to think about anything. You just need to go to that article and copy the code.
Sure. Another thing is require the correct information in the date pickers. So let's say you are filling the expiration date for a credit card. Why should I even request for the day? It is not relevant. So definitely I just need the month and the year. So for those type of scenarios, if there's something that is not relevant, just ask for the relevant piece. So if it's only a year, ask for the year. If it's only a month, ask for the month. For this use case, that is the month and the year. Just ask what is needed, because if not, the user will get like, why am I'm being asked the date? I don't even know.
What is the day?
What is the day my credit card expires? Maybe the end of the month. That's not clear. So definitely the day is not relevant. So always request what you really need.
And there is an article about it. So Botham Benesky, I think. Yeah, Botham Benesky wrote a customized control of the picker called month-year picker view. And if you want to, you can modify it for your specific case. So the code is there. Another tip is to divide fields into semantic groups. So it is hard when you are filling a form and the form have like a lot of options and you are like, where is the end of this form? So and you are like, I'm going to complete this later.
As an user, I might be like, I don't want to really use
probably I don't need to use this app. Yeah, so a better approach to that is to divide the fields into semantic groups. I wrote an article a time ago about how to do a step bar. So this is an option that you can use to divide the fields in your forms. But also Syncfusion has a really nice control called a step progress bar. So
kind of a wizard, right?
Yeah, kind of a wizard, and you can add images and text there. And yeah, it's easier if you can see like, okay, this is the account setup, this is the security question, and you
it's
feel
kind
like
of a more friendly way to request information.
Yeah.
Also, provide more information when it's necessary. Sometimes what we are asking might not be clear right away, or even what is the correct format, or what is a specific field that I might not know just by the name. I can have kind of a hint that if you tap on that hint, I can give you more details on that. And I don't have to make the UI really heavy. I just provide this, and if you need it, you can just tap it and check the description. You can do that by using maybe tooltips. I did an article a time ago on this, on how to integrate tooltips into Xamarin Forms, but the idea is that you consider that when doing forms, so that if a field is not really clear on what is for and what's the format, you can actually use this mechanism.
Also, autofocus. Autofocus is important because when you are filling a form and you want to go to the next field, it's kind of hard to tap it. So it's better to provide like an easier way to the user so they can achieve that. So with autofocus, you can just like start like focusing what's going to be the first entry, but also you can go to the next field while filling it, and it's simple as select what's going to be the next entry. So you maybe wrote an article a time ago, but I can give you an spoiler about it because I read the article, and it's basically just said what's going to be the next entry and just change the focus. And it doesn't have like much line of code, many lines of code.
It's pretty simple, but it's basically these small things that add value to your application.
Yeah.
Another thing that adds value, it's hiding or showing passwords. Sometimes if we don't see the password and we type it quickly, we might mistype it, but we don't want the password to be shown all the time. So why don't we provide a mechanism to actually show or hide the password to make sure that I am not mistyping it or making a mistake? This is a very nice way to do it. Just a simple tap will show my password and a simple tap will hide it. Many apps use this mechanism, like Amazon and other applications. So it's a really popular approach.
Yeah, and the code is there. So.
Yeah, and you have an article. You have a lot of articles.
Yeah. So I did it with event trigger, and as you see here in the code, it's just like add a class in your project and just add event trigger to the image button. So it's really simple. Also, don't use picker for everything. We love pickers. I think this is one of the most useful controls that Xamarin Forms has, but picker is not for everything. For example, if you have a scenario where you need to complete a gender option, why you will use a picker for that? You have options like female, male, other rather not to say, or probably you just want to add make female or male. I don't know. So for those cases, probably the best option is to use a radio button or something else. But there are also another options. Xamarin Forms has an action sheet. You can use the tab of Sharnado. Yeah, I think it's Sharnado. The Xamarin. So there are some options that you can use. The idea of this slide is that not everything is a picker. There are a lot of options that you can use. Yes. Xamarin Forms has like a lot of new controls. Radio button is there, and action sheet is there, and there are more options that you can use.
The important thing is to have an open mindset while you are designing your screen. And okay, should I have a picker, or I have a better option for this UI to give my users the best user experience possible? So always consider your options.
Yeah, and for example, check the second one. Like sometimes you don't want to read the name. With an image, you can just like understand what is this about, so it's easier to do it that way.
Other way to improve our applications is to use one-time password. The thing is that once you install an application, you want to get right away inside the application, so we don't want to lose time receiving verification codes and all those sort of stuff. So if we can make it easier to the user, this process, let's do it. And if it's simple, better. So instead of waiting for the code and then typing it, why don't, once we get the code, it is already on the clipboard, or it even gets copied on the screen. So definitely, let's do these small features that it doesn't require a lot of code to do. So, but adds a lot of value and saves a lot of time for the user to get inside our applications.
Yeah, and Gerald has an article about it. And if Gerald has an article, he will probably have a video. So probably in his channel, there is a video about it. And if not, Gerald, you should record that video. Also, auto-logging. So auto-logging is a feature that I think almost all the important applications have it, because it's something that you expect. Like when you install application and you write your credentials the first time, you don't need to rewrite it every time when you open the app again. So this is why auto-logging is important. If you guys use apps like Facebook or Instagram, you probably know that you don't need to type all the information all the time. So auto-logging is really easy to achieve with Xamarin Essentials. You just need to storage the out token that the API provides, but there are also another mechanism that you can use there. This is just like the simple one, because it's just like install a package and save an action there and just reload the app with that storage.
The next section is profile and contact screens, how we can make that better. So one thing to consider is to use shortcuts. Let's say you are looking at a profile screen that has some contact details. We want to make these contact details interactive so that if there's a phone, I can call right away just by tapping at the phone. If there's an email, I can just tap on the email and it will compose an email. If there's an address, it will take me to the Maps application. So definitely consider these options that are just one-liners. So it's pretty easy to integrate, and we don't want the user to be copying information, or even worse, being going to other apps to type the phone or something. Definitely, let's add these one-liners that will make your application better and will make the user use more your application, because it's just one-liners, but those one-liners are things that adds value to your application.
Yeah. Also share contact. A really time ago, I wrote an article about this, about how you can share contact. So probably you know that with Xamarin Essentials, you can share numbers, you can share text, you can share a lot of things. But this specific tip is about not share just the number, and it's about share the contact itself. So to achieve that, I use Xamarin Essentials, the share API of Xamarin Essentials, but the difference is like you need to generate a BCF file. So I create a helper there that you can just like use it, and it will create the contact format for you. And also another section is loading. So loadings is important in our application. This is one of the things that where you are waiting, because you need to wait a lot there and you are like using it a lot. So in Xamarin Forms, there are a lot of ways that you can do to do an activity indicator. You can use the native activity indicator, which is an option too, but you have another options too. You can use the sim function SFBC indicator, and it's just like install the library there, and they have like a lot of good options. But you can also use Lori, and you can create your own animation and add it to your project, or use one of the animations that is there. You can also use ACR user dialogues, and I think this is one of the most famous packages. I think it's not longer supported, but the package is there. Yeah, and it's still working. I don't know what Alan did there, but it's still working, Alan. Also, you can use the RG plugin pop-up. You can simulate the same thing of the previous activity indicator, and you can also add images there. And you can also, this is one of my favorites. So state layout, the Xamarin Community Toolkit already support that. So it's just like install the Xamarin Community Toolkit package, and it will provide that this really nice UX that apps like Facebook and Instagram do. So
definitely use an activity indicator. I think that's the tip for this, because you don't want to load data and don't give any feedback to the user. Definitely that's wrong.
Yeah, and use the activity indicator, use the right one, because sometimes if for example, this one, the upload on background. So you are uploading an image or uploading a video, and it will take like 1 minute to load, or probably more. So why you will like, why the user need to stay in that screen? So probably a better user experience is to close, close the loading process, and so the user can still using the app. And after the loading is finished, then you just need to show a toast. So the conclusion of this category is use the right activity indicator for your case. And
yeah, because if it takes a long time, we don't want to interrupt the user from using our application, unless it's something that needs to be a showstopper, and okay, no, I need to save this information before doing anything else. But it's better to avoid those certain scenarios and be more like Instagram apps. Like, for example, when you upload a picture or upload a video, it will actually immediately will start uploading in the background, but you can use anything in the app. So definitely it's a great approach to go.
Yeah, and if you use like apps like Facebook and Instagram, like they don't use the blocking activity indicator.
Right. Yeah.
So you can use the
Yeah,
application you can navigate into the sections whatever you
if
want.
you can avoid the blocking indicator, that's the best thing. So definitely.
But there are some scenarios that you need it.
You might need it.
Yeah, because if you are submitted a payment, probably you don't want the user to go to another section of the app. So use the activity the right activity indicator
in the right scenarios.
Yeah.
Another thing to talk about, internet connection. So we don't want to see this technical message while using our applications. A user will not definitely understand this unless it's a developer, and maybe a developer will.
It's worse because if you're a developer, you
will
like,
think like,
why?
Okay, this guy maybe is learning. He doesn't know a lot what he's doing. Maybe he's new to the business. So definitely use more friendly messages to the user that he can understand and can relate to what is going on, that we don't have connection at that time. It's really easy and handy to check the connection using essentials. It's just a one-liner, so it's pretty easy to do. I think there is also an event handler that we can even handle scenarios that you recover connection after you lose it, so we can do all those sort of stuff. Another thing is to consider using the right UI for your context or your app. We have many options. I think these are not even all the options. The options are basically your imagination. Anything, you can do anything related to internet connection UIs. One approach is to have a page that indicates that you lost connectivity, or even show a toast, or take the user to another page showing that there's no connectivity, show notifications, show a toast. There are many options, and you have an article about that, right?
Yeah, and the code is there. So
the important thing is that don't leave the user without having feedback that there's no internet connection, because that's bad. The user should always know what's going on with that. Also, consider doing data caching. Data caching is pretty important because it can improve the performance of our applications and can also make it look faster, because when we do data caching, we will be showing a copy of the last thing that the user saw. So let's say you are on an airplane and you put your phone in airplane. I don't want to see a blank screen. I want to see the last things I actually got to my phone. So definitely consider doing data caching. It's a very common approach to use in applications, and it's really easy by just installing Monkey Cache or any others. I think Akabache is other option, or even an SQLite database. You have many options to do data caching. Another thing is image caching. This is very important. Let's say you are doing a photo gallery and there are a lot of images there. You don't want to actually overload your memory with all these images, and if there are the same sometimes, you don't want to be loaded multiple times because you can even get an out of memory error. So definitely use data caching. Here, images caching. Here we can see Xamarin Forms has its own approach, but there are also libraries that go even beyond that, and you can have many options for that image caching.
Also general, we are going to the next category, which is general things that you can apply to any category of your app. So the first one is alerts. Alerts is one of the first things that we learn when we are learning Xamarin Forms. Doing an alert is easy in Xamarin Forms, but sometimes if your application, it doesn't look like that professional in your application, so you can use a different approach. You can create your own alert that can match with the thing or your application, and you can use the RG plugin pop-up. I think the Xamarin Community Toolkit already has something with an alerts, but you can use the RG plugin pop-up of the Xamarin Community Toolkit if they are supporting it already.
Right.
And
because we want to align the applications as much as possible to the theme of our application, so to make the user feel aligned with everything in our application.
And let's be honest, it's easier to do it with the display alert, but you can create your own service and add your own customization.
It just gives a better experience to the user.
Yeah. And also Leomaris Reyes has an article about it, so you can see what she did there.
Empty states. This is something that sometimes we as developers don't consider. Maybe we don't think on that, but designers do. And this is something really important because we don't want the user to see a blank screen totally. We want to actually guide the user to create content if there's no content yet, but not show that boring blank screen. We want to actually show a picture, show some shortcut to create data. And there are many options to do empty states. You can enter to this link, and there are many ideas you can actually gather from there. And it's pretty handy, and I think it marks a difference in your applications because it will make it look better.
Yeah. Also, handling permission is important because this is, I mean, it's annoying when you install the application the first time and the first thing that you get is you need to install the camera. Can I get permission to your camera? Can I get permission to your microphone? And you don't know what the app is about. And you are like accepting all those permissions. So a better user experience for this scenario is to provide a better UI where you are explaining before requesting the permission. What is the permission about? So so the user can accept the permission.
And this way the user is more willing to actually allow the permission, because if I am asked for the camera and at that point I'm not even using the camera, why I'm requested that? So definitely
and probably you are requesting the camera because you want to upload your profile picture. So
why don't ask at that point and tell why, basically. The other important thing is to protect sensitive data. Let's say I am in a banking application. I don't want to have my data exposed when the application is in background. So there's a very easy mechanism to actually blank or make it gray so that you don't expose any bank information and they cannot take any screenshot there. And Lorenzo Araujo has a really nice article to guide you on how to achieve this.
And also relative time. Relative time at all the tips is important because it's hard to remember. Like I don't even know what day is today. Yeah, I don't know. So it's easier if you provide a mechanism like
7 days ago.
Yeah, 7 days, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago.
You can relate better as a user, like to have an idea on when this occurred.
Yeah, and this is really easy to achieve. So Rendy, you did a converter a time ago, and you can just add the converter in your project. Or there are also a nice library called Humanizer that you can install in your project, and you will have that feature there.
TouchID and FaceID. It's something really important to integrate in our applications nowadays. And the reason is because we want to take the user as fast as possible to the home screen. We don't want him to actually go to the login each time. And the user will actually be grateful about that. Because no user wants to log in. If we can make the login just one touch or just showing my face, obviously it's a great experience, and many banking applications use this approach because in the case of a banking application, we cannot use auto login right away, or at least not in the same way. We should always log in the user somehow, and we use TouchID and FaceID for those type of approaches.
Also, app action is another option. And if you don't know about app action, is that feature that appears when you long press the icon of an application, and you will see direct options to go to a specific page. So app actions is supported by Xamarin Essentials, so you just need to install the package and add.
Right, it's very handy and it's not very used, I think.
Yeah.
Link previews. So if you are doing a social network app like, let's say, Facebook, I think you might have seen this feature that you actually paste a link and you immediately have a preview of the picture. It's really a nice and handy way to preview something that you are sharing. For social network apps might be, I think, a must-have. So definitely consider adding this type of features to those type of applications. Lorenzo Araujo has an article on how to do this.
Yeah, also action feedback is important. I think the first time that I saw that in a Xamarin Forms application was in the Xamarin Bowl, and I was really excited about it. I was like, it was a lot of time ago. So action feedback provides like that instant feedback when you click in a button. So I wrote a plug and play animation a time ago that you can just add the behavior, but the Xamarin Community Toolkit supports it. So you just need to install the Xamarin Community Toolkit and you can add it to any of your console. And you will have options like shaking,
rotate,
yeah.
Many options there. And it's also important because we don't want the user like to tap on a button right away or something and don't get the feedback because he will think like, this is not doing nothing, and like click tap 7 times, I don't know, a crazy amount of times. So definitely something handy to add.
Yeah, and also you can go beyond that. And for those cases where you are feeling a feel and the feel is wrong, you can probably shake the device, the physical device a little bit.
And provide a physical.
Yeah, and Xamarin Essentials has a vibration API, so you just need to use it and provide that shaking behavior.
App links. It's also something that you can use to improve your user experience. I think you might have experienced that on other applications that you receive an email and you tap on a link and it takes you right away to the section of the application that is being requested on the link. So this is a very handy feature and it's really easy to integrate because you can use this for many scenarios like forgot password. Let's say you are taking it to a news page,
even to the register form.
Yeah, to a register form. You can do it in many ways, and you don't have to take the user to a browser. You can take them directly to your app and handle the request there. So I think it's a really important thing to integrate nowadays because we want to make the user experience as great as possible.
Yeah.
And I have an article about that, so you can check it out.
Yeah, also going back to animations, there are a lot of another options that you can use for animation. Javier Suarez has a library called Pace Transition that is really nice, but also Gianpaolo Gaba has another library called Shared Transitions. Yes, Shared Transition, and you can use the Xamarin Community Toolkit. And I mean, the animations will mark the difference in your application. So you will see the different, like trying to avoid the simple push and pop that
an application without animations, I think it is pretty boring, right? So,
yeah.
And we want to get the user excited about something in our applications because we are mainly showing information or doing stuff. So we want to make the user have fun in our application. And this is a great way to provide fun to the user.
Yeah, and the target is that the user can use the app again. So
right. Always consider adding multi-language to your applications. And the reason for this is because even though my application might just be in one language, I will consider this from the start on any application because first, it's pretty easy to do. So if I do it from the beginning, I won't have the pain at that point I have to support other languages. Also, it provides a really nice experience to the user because many users, if it's available, their language, they will prefer to actually use the app in their native language. Also, some users might have their phone in Spanish, or some other might have it in English, or even in German. So definitely, if you can adapt your app to the language that has the system, the user will have a very great experience.
Yeah. And also dark mode. Dark mode is already supported by Xamarin Essentials, and it's really easy to achieve, like all the things that we have mentioned. So Steven has an article about it, and this is a nice feature to add in your app.
App reviews are other things that you should be adding into your apps because users rarely go to the stores and rate your applications. And we all, as developers, want our 5-star rates, right? So one way to achieve it is to integrate app review, but integrate it in the sense, be cautious about this, basically. We don't want to ask for a review right away if the user hasn't even used our app or asked too many times for a review. We should do it in a proper way. Like, for example, okay, the user have used my app 5 times, then let me try to request a review, because if he has used it right time, he has been coming back, so he might like our app. So definitely always consider adding app reviews.
Yeah. Also, adaptive UI. I wrote this article for the Xamarin blog a time ago, and it's basically when you are developing an application, you need to think in all the scenarios. You need to think in tablet, you need to think in small devices, but it's not like adding a entry, and that entry is the same entry for all the cases. The best option is to adapt that screen for that specific device. So yeah, so I wrote an article about it, and it's simple like us changing the thing. Right. That's an spoiler, so you don't need to read it. So it's just changing the thing and detect the resolution of the device.
Yeah, basically, if I'm using an iPad, I want to feel that that app is for that iPad. I want to look the fonts bigger, all those things. If I'm using a small phone, I should relate to that, basically. I should relate to the device I'm using, and this is a great approach to it.
Yeah. So where can I learn more about it, about UX in general?
Well, one place to learn more about it is the Javier Suarez repository about Xamarin Forms good-looking UI. This is a great repository to get ideas, and I think Javier has done a really nice compilation of different applications done by the community. Some of them clones of famous applications, other really nice UIs or ideas, UX. So definitely go into that and get some ideas for your new projects.
Yeah. Also, you can follow the best Twitch ever, which is the King Phillips Twitch. So I think he streams like all the weeks, so you can go and take a look. He have like a lot of great things there.
Websites to learn are Dribbble, Behance, Pinterest. Definitely go to those websites when you are looking for ideas, because these are great places where designers actually share UX that you can replicate into your app and bring those ideas into your application and provide a really nice user experience to your users.
Yeah, and also you can explore UI kits. SceneFusion has a really nice UI kits, but there are a lot of options there that you can use and use what they provide, like a good UI in UX.
UI foundation, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is your favorite way to actually learn more. Downloading apps, see what others does, like, for example, Facebook, famous apps like Instagram, or even other new apps that might be doing something interesting. And sometimes you find really interesting ideas there. If you are, for example, doing an application of a specific market, you should go into the lead applications for that specific market to see what the competitors are doing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. Like download apps and see what else.
Yeah, because you get a lot of ideas from apps. So that's the best idea, like get ideas from other developers. Basically.
Yeah. And I think that's all. Thank you so much for inviting us here. Thank you so much for...
It was a great experience.
Yeah, and thank you so much to all the attendants to this talk. And
yeah, you can find us on our Twitters and our blogs.
Yeah.
And we are really thankful about sharing this with you, and it was a really nice
and hope you have learned something.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.